Sorry I haven't been around for a couple of weeks. Last video was me getting ready to leave to go to Colorado. My stepdad did pass I arrived Thursday. He passed on Sunday. We had the funeral the following Saturday, and it was a very, very bad time for everybody involved. It was very, very difficult. And when you have to arrange a funeral when you don't have a mortuary arranging the funeral, as far as, you go to some funerals and even a family member, the mortuary takes care of everything. And you basically go in, tell them what you want, and then you show up. They take care of everything. You don't have to worry about it. You show up to the funeral. You're grieving. You don't want to have to deal with any of it. My stepfather was cremated, and sometimes even in cremations, it's you can get it so it's everything's pretty well taken care of. But when there's circumstances to where that doesn't happen, then really somebody has to step up. Maybe a couple of somebodies in the family has to step up and literally take care of every single thing that a mortuary or, some organization or something might normally look after. And things that you don't think of, like, it's not just picking out flowers. I mean, we're talking about how will the cremains be displayed? Is there going to be a box? Is there going to be an urn? Is there going to be a table? How is the table going to be decorated? Are you going to have a picture or you're not going to have a picture? Are you going to have candles or you're not going to have candles? And then who's going to get all that stuff and who's going to pull it all together? Is there going to be music? Is there going to be what? Well, I pretty much had to do 90% of that. And it was very, very difficult because I spent a lot of time, my whole purpose, much to pay my respects to my stepfather as well, but was to be there for my mother. That was my whole main thing, was to be there for her. And it's very stressful. If you've ever had to be the sole, I hesitate to say sole because there was another family member there, my sister, but it ended up being a lot of me there. And I don't want to come off as sounding like I'm complaining. It's just that I guess what I'm getting at is life throws these things at you. And you have to, as a mother, as a parent, you're always prepared to have to jump in there and be present and be there for your kids and be this and be that. And that's not an issue. But here I am at a time in my life when I have finally decided that I'm going to, the kids are old enough, they're away, or I've got one last one at home, and I need to do for me. I need to be selfish. I need to make my life mine. That's where the surgery comes in. I'm taking back my life. I'm focusing on me. Okay. And then you get in that mode, and then it's like, and you're so focused on yourself and, okay, I'm going to do this and it's going to be great, and you're making plans and whatever, and then, whoa, life throws something else at you. And it's like, okay, well, you're kicked back into what you're used to. I can do this, it's no big thing, I can be this, I can be that, I can do this, I can do that, no problem. But in the meantime, now you've stepped back from you again, and you're there for everybody but you all over again. It's such an easy thing to slide back into without any looking back at yourself again. I mean, you're not there. You're so present for everybody and everything around you that you forget about you all over again. And I know this is a process, and this is something that we have to get, because that's what's caused a lot of people's weight. You don't think about you. You just eat. You do what you got to do. You don't eat healthy. You eat too much. You don't eat enough. You're not eating at the right times. Your schedules are messed up. You're not being healthy. And then you get into a rut. Yeah, a lot of people sit there and that's all they do. They consume themselves with the idea of eating. I've got to eat. I'm hungry. You're always thinking of food. You're always this. You're always that. But then there's other people that are just so consumed with their lives that they just eat until they feel full. And sometimes they don't feel full until they've eaten way too much. They're too busy thinking about other things. It's mindless eating. You just eat because you're supposed to be, or it's snacking, or it's there, or it's whatever. But at some point we all get to the where we need to do for me. I need to do this for me. So what is that going to take for me? What is that going to take? I'm going to have to start seriously thinking about myself. People can get there, and I've had people in my life say, you know what, you're a self-centered bitch, basically. But I haven't really been. If I had been really self-centered, I wouldn't be in this state, because I know me. I am constantly consumed with worry and guilt and concern and about everybody and everything but myself. Okay? So now I've focused on me. I'm getting the surgery. I've got all my ducks in a row. I'm learning the psychology of everything. I'm trying to get my brain wrapped around everything so that I don't fail. I don't want to sabotage myself. I don't want to set myself up to fail. I don't want to do any of these things. So I'm focused on me. I'm reading the labels. I'm learning what I need to eat, what I can't eat, how I have to eat, when I have to eat, and exercise, how I'm going to fit it, where I'm going to fit it, what it's going to look like, how it's going to be, and then other activities in my life, trying to make sure I have a balance of other activities, my hobbies, things I've put off, because of kids and issues and whatever. Travel. I want to travel. We're buying a house this year. There's all kinds. I've got to figure out how to make it all work, and that's what I've been doing. I've been putting all my energy into that. But wham, something like this happens. There's a death. Something that it has to become a priority. Okay, well, what do? You have to throw yourself into that. Well, in the meantime, you get all freaked out and say, okay, well, it's no big deal. I can do this. And you don't think about it. You just go and do it. And then when it's over, I sit back and I think, oh man, I screwed up. I didn't eat for nearly 3 days. What I did eat was terrible. There was an entire day, the funeral day, where I had nothing I could eat. I was looking at the food afterwards that the church had arranged, that the people had brought in, like a potluck type thing. And there was literally nothing I could eat that was healthy there. And it was the first time in 3 days I had even thought about what kind of food I might be putting in, because at that point the funeral was winding down. I was able to take a breath. For 3 days it was a disaster. I was able to take a breath. I walked in this room full of food and I was just looking around at all the tables, and I'm like, there is nothing I'm supposed to eat here. What the hell? And what do you do in that situation? How do you fix that? I'm looking at what I've just done, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I not do this after surgery? Because when it comes down to it, after surgery, and I find myself in the same situation, I have not prepared myself because I've been so focused on somebody else and everything else. I find myself in a situation where I have no food, no way to get any healthy food. I have nothing to eat, And if I do put something in my mouth to eat, in this type of situation, I would have made myself sick. I would have been dumping. I would have been either dumping or starving, pretty much, because you either don't eat or you get sick, because that is literally all they had. And it never occurred to me that I needed to do something to be proactive in it. So what are you going to do? You have to, that's another thing. These are things that they don't tell you. You know, the doctors don't tell you, the social worker doesn't tell you, the nutritionist doesn't tell you any of this crap. And I'm one of those people, I'm a control freak for one thing. That's as if you couldn't tell. I really want to be able to be prepared. I mean, am I a Girl Scout or what? Okay. Be prepared for these situations. If for some reason something emergency happens and you don't have, it's like a shock thing, and you don't have the wherewithal to prepare for a situation like that, what do you do? Well, I know it sounds pretty simplistic, but if I had had even one scoop of protein powder, maybe 25 grams of protein, tucked away in my purse for emergencies, you know, like earlier in the week, if I had thought to do that, you know, to have a little container in my purse for such a situation, I would have been better. I was so sick by probably 2 hours after the funeral because I hadn't eaten. There was nothing I could eat, right? Plus all the stress. I was so sick. It was very, very hard for me not to be there for my mother. And I don't know. It's just something to think about, you know? What do you do? It's like being prepared for an emergency when a blackout or a flood or something like that. Really, shouldn't we be thinking about ourselves in the same light? You know, I mean, how do you look after yourself? You look after your house, you look after your kids, you look after your car, you know, you got, what do you do for yourself in an emergency? Seriously. I mean, it would never have occurred to me had it not happened to me. Um, you look after yourself. People who live in a tornado area, they have places, they have supplies, they have, you know, things worked out. You have things in place to protect yourself, to preserve yourself. You have your whole, you know, thing. You have your food stashed away. You have water. You have this. You have that. I think, in my mind, when we're taking such drastic measures with our body, that we need to be prepared for that as well, if something should happen. Because we're running around with our life, shit happens, you know, and you may not be able to focus for yourself, about yourself, but if you're prepared, then you won't be running up against a wall saying, I screwed up bad. You know, now what am I going to do? I'm paying for it. Try to figure out how to be prepared. So that's one way I've thought. Have some protein powder with me. It's a simple thing. Have maybe a simple protein bars with you. Stuff some in the car somewhere. I don't know. Just got to be different things that we can do. Maybe some of y'all can come up with other ideas. Emergency preparedness for gastric bypass folks. Anyways, I'm back. I'm doing a brain bleed thing, trying to figure stuff out. Well, that's all I got this week. Trying to get back in the mode of being home and, you know, looking after me, and miss the family, that's for sure. Been away for 19 days. It was pretty sucky, especially without the internet. But anyway, I shall talk to you all next week about something. Maybe you guys can give me some clues. Think about what we can do, what we can't do, what we shouldn't do. Good ideas. Emergency preparedness for gastric bypass. Cool. Have a good week.